Hey ladies, what's up? It's Brittany here with LadyStrong Fitness, and on today's episode of the LadyStrong Fitcast, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of tracking your food.
So the big question is this: how were two women who didn't cheat and purchase a gym franchise model, how were they able to spread their mission and purpose by empowering and transforming hundreds of women's lives through fitness, nutrition, mindset, and accountability with a micro gym business model of women only? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. We are LadyStrong Fitness.
Hey ladies, what's up? It's Brittany here with another episode of the LadyStrong Fitcast. And like I said, on today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the pros and cons of tracking food. And I actually just came up with this podcast episode because I was actually just talking to a member about this earlier. A couple members actually about this earlier after today's 925 class. And I was like, no, it's so weird because I was so good at tracking my food, and I was tracking my food and I still was having a hard time losing weight. And then I stopped tracking my food and all of a sudden I'm dropping weight. And I was like, I think I know why. So I wanted to share with you some of the pros and cons of tracking your food, whether it's in a food journal, Avatar Nutrition, MyFitnessPal, or whatever software or app you're using to currently track your food. I want to talk about the pros and cons of actually writing down what you're eating. So we're going to start with the pros of writing down your food. So some of the pros of writing down your food or tracking your food is, if you're early on in your fitness journey, it's super important for you to know what you're putting in your body and also what is coming out of it when you're working out or exercising. Because weight loss is all it is calories in versus calories out, and always and being at a calorie deficit at the end of every day in order to lose weight, right? So if you're consuming 2,000 calories a day and your body needs 2,500 calories a day, and so you're at a 500 calorie deficit, right? So you always want to be at a calorie deficit based on your basal metabolic rate, which is why we do the in-body scan. But again, it's just calories in versus calories out, plain and simple, point blank period. So tracking your food, one of the pros of tracking your food is you really can start to understand what you're putting in your body, what you're consuming, so you can track the calories in. The reason you wear a heart rate monitor and you do an in-body scan is that you can track your calories out. And that is a perfect marriage for understanding if you're at a calorie deficit during your day or not to lose weight. So pro number one of tracking your food is absolutely you have an idea of the calories coming in. The second thing is you can really make sure that you're eating a healthy balance of carbs, fats, proteins, and fiber, right? So you should be getting about 25 grams of fiber in per day. And then proteins, fats, and carbs are different for everybody, and those are called macronutrients. And we talk about those a lot here at LadyStrong because a lot of our ladies do track macros. Flexible dieting is a huge thing for us, but really understanding the balance of proteins, fats, and carbs that you're getting in a day is a really, really great way to start understanding nutrition on a very basic level. So pro tip number two for the pro number two of tracking your food is understanding a healthy balance of the macronutrients you are consuming. Number three is the third pro for me is building a healthy habit and also really getting an understanding of how your body reacts to food as you consume it and the amount of food that you're consuming. Do you feel better when you eat less? Do you feel better when you eat more? Do you feel better when you eat breakfast early before your workouts, or do you feel better when you eat breakfast after your workouts? This really helps you start to understand the internal structure of your body and how it likes to thrive during a day and through your workouts to really make sure you're maximizing your eating times during the day and also your workouts to overall either help you build muscle, maintain weight, lose weight, whatever you're looking to do, or just start a healthy habit, right? It's not always about losing weight. It's about just being healthy, right? And eating healthier. So when you're writing down your food or tracking your food, you can really start to see what the tendencies are during the day of eating. Maybe you eat more later on in the day. Maybe you're hungrier later on in the day than you are in the morning. You really start to get to know your body. So that's pro number three. So those are the first three pros of tracking your food. Now, some of the cons could be, number one, if you have an obsessive personality, you can get a little obsessive when it comes to actually writing down your food, and you start to get a really odd relationship with food if you're paying attention too much to it, right? You almost get too strict when you are tracking your food and you really don't allow yourself to waver at all or have the ebbs and flows that come naturally with a journey in fitness and health. You have the ups and downs, and if you get too strict with something, it can actually be detrimental to your progress. So that would be con number one. Con number 2 was what I just found out the other day is sometimes you're eating more than your body actually really needs. So for example, this is a personal example that I just figured out. So I was really tracking my food on Avatar Nutrition, which is a food tracking app for macros for flexible dieting. And it was giving me about 2,200 calories a day. So I was always eating to 2,200 calories because that's what the app was telling me I needed because I was wanting to maintain my weight. So I was eating, and I would eat even if I wasn't hungry because my app said that I had to eat more food, and I was just eating when I wasn't hungry. And I'm like, man, like I'm almost like gaining a little bit of weight here, and this is just really weird. So I actually stopped tracking my food. I started listening to my body, and I only started eating when I was hungry. And over the last 2 weeks, I've lost 6 pounds. So it's kind of just really crazy to think like I was so set on tracking my food because that's what the app said I needed to do. And now I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I wanna make sure that I, have what I need just throughout the day, right? So that would be the con number 2. Con number 3 for me would be if you're not consistent. If you're not consistent with tracking your food, if you're not consistent with that stuff, you can start to really beat yourself up because if you're not perfect, again, it goes back to kind of having that obsessive or addictive personality or that need for perfection. If you're that kind of person and you get into tracking food and you've never done it before, it can really start to almost hinder your progress because you get frustrated, you get upset because you're not meeting your numbers. Oh, I forgot to log this, or oh, this doesn't show up in the app. And it can really almost start to kind of deplete your confidence in your journey. So it can actually be a detriment instead of, pushing you forward. So those are the 3 cons of tracking food. So I wanted to really share this information with you ladies today because a lot of people ask us about like, oh, should I track my food? Should I not? A lot of people have been tracking their food for a while. And if you've been tracking your food for a while, you may be noticing one thing or the other. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe, like it on YouTube, subscribe where you listen to your podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or whatever your favorite place is to listen to podcasts. And if you really liked this episode, please leave a review for us on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.